This isn't what it looks like. Let me explain.
Explain this! I know everything about him and the money.
The house felt different at midnight. Not haunted different. Just empty, like when you walk into a restaurant 5 minutes before closing and everyone's already mentally gone home. I sat in my leather chair, the one Monroe always complained made our living room look like a divorced dad's apartment, nursing my third bourbon and staring at the manila envelope Mason had dropped off 6 hours ago. My wife was upstairs, probably asleep, definitely not wondering where I'd been for the past 4 hours. That should have told me everything I needed to know, but I'm an architect. I need blueprints, measurements, proof that the foundation is cracked before I recommend tearing the whole thing down. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. The photos were spread across my drafting table like a crime scene. Monroe getting into a silver BMW that wasn't mine. Monroe kissing a man who wasn't me. Monroe walking into the Riverside Motel with someone who definitely wasn't taking her to yoga class. Dr. Jory Trentel, dentist, married, father of 2. Monroe's friend from her book club that apparently spent more time horizontal than reading. I heard footsteps on the stairs. Monroe appeared in the doorway, wearing the silk pajamas I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. Back when I thought we were happy, back when I was stupid. "You're up late," she said, not really looking at me. Her eyes went to the envelope, then away, quick, guilty. Couldn't sleep. I picked up one of the photos, a particularly damning shot of her and Jory sharing what looked like a very intimate conversation over dinner. "How was book club tonight?" "Fine." She moved toward the kitchen, casual as you please. We discussed that new thriller everyone's reading. The one where the wife cheats on her husband. She stopped, her shoulders tense just slightly. After 15 years of marriage, you learn to read the signs. "I don't know what you're talking about, Finley." I stood up, walked over to her, and handed her the photo. "This thriller. The one where the wife thinks her husband is too stupid to notice she's screwing her dentist." Monroe looked at the photo. Her face went through several interesting expressions: surprise, denial, anger, then finally settling on cold defiance. "Where did you get this?" "Does it matter?" "You had me followed." Her voice rose. "You violated my privacy?" I almost laughed. Almost. "Your privacy? Monroe, you're my wife. We share a bank account, a mortgage, and apparently you share a lot more than that with Dr. Feelgood." She threw the photo back at me. "This is exactly why I needed space. You're controlling, paranoid." "I'm paranoid?" I picked up another photo, this one showing her coming out of the motel room, hair messed up, looking satisfied. "Honey, when your wife starts taking yoga classes 4 nights a week and comes home smelling like someone else's cologne, that's not paranoia. That's pattern recognition." "I don't have to listen to this." "No, you don't, but you're going to." I walked to my desk drawer and pulled out a thick folder. Because Mason didn't just take pictures. He did research. Want to know how much of our money you've spent on your boyfriend? The dinners, the hotels, the jewelry you told me you bought for yourself? Her face went white. "Finley. $12,000, Monroe. In 6 months. On your affair." I opened the folder. Credit card statements, hotel receipts, even the lingerie you bought. The stuff I never saw you wear. She sat down hard on the couch. For a moment, she looked small, vulnerable. Then her lawyer training kicked in. "You can't use any of this. It was obtained illegally." "This isn't court, sweetheart. This is our marriage. And it's over." The words hung in the air between us. I'd been thinking them for weeks, but saying them out loud made them real. Final. Monroe's mask slipped completely then. "You bastard. You smug, self-righteous bastard. Do you want to know why I cheated? Because you're boring, Finley. You're predictable and safe and boring. Jory makes me feel alive." "Jory makes you feel alive?" I laughed, and it came out harder than I intended. "Monroe, Jory is a dentist who drives a BMW he can't afford and cheats on his wife with married women. If that's your definition of exciting, your standards have really dropped." She stood up, fury radiating off her like heat. "At least he pays attention to me. At least he makes me feel wanted." "Right. I'm sure it has nothing to do with the fact that you told him I was worth $500,000. Her mouth opened, then closed. Bingo. "Oh yeah, I know about that too. Amazing how much pillow talk Mason's microphones picked up." "You bugged our house?" "I bugged your boyfriend's car, perfectly legal in Maine, by the way. One-party consent state." I smiled. It wasn't a nice smile. "You two talk a lot about my money, about my life insurance policy. About how much happier you'd be if I just disappeared. The color drained from her face completely now. Finley, that's not... We never what? Never talked about how convenient it would be if I had an accident. Never discussed how you could claim I was abusive to get a better divorce settlement. Never planned to clean out our accounts and run off to Costa Rica together. Each word hit her like a physical blow. She sank back onto the couch, shaking her head. I loved you, I said quietly. For 15 years, I loved you. I worked 60-hour weeks to give you everything you wanted. I supported your career, your dreams, your expensive tastes. And this is how you repay me. Finley, please? No. I gathered up the photos and put them back in the envelope. We're done talking. Tomorrow you're going to pack your things and move out. You can go stay with Jory or your sister or whoever will take you. I don't care. You can't throw me out of my own house. Actually, I can. This house is in my name only, remember? You insisted on keeping your maiden name, keeping everything separate. Well, congratulations, everything's separate. She stared at me, and I could see her calculating, trying to find an angle. I'll take you for everything in the divorce. No, you won't. I tapped the envelope. Adultery affects alimony in Maine, especially when there's this much evidence. You might want to call a lawyer, a different lawyer, one who doesn't know about your little side business. What side business? I smiled again. The one where you've been billing clients for work you haven't done while you were playing house with Dr. Drill and Phil. Mason's very thorough. She looked like she was going to be sick. You destroyed us, Monroe, but I'm going to make sure you don't destroy anyone else. I walked toward the stairs, then turned back. Oh, and honey, you might want to call Jory. Let him know his wife got some very interesting photos in her email tonight. The sound she made wasn't quite a scream, but it was close. I went upstairs to pack. Tomorrow, the real fun would begin. I woke up to the sound of Monroe's voice screaming into her phone downstairs. Something about damage control and lawyers and how this was all a misunderstanding. I checked the clock. 7 a.m. Early for a meltdown, even by Monroe's standards. My phone had 6 missed calls from various numbers I didn't recognize and 3 text messages from Mason. Package delivered. Fireworks starting. Call me. I made coffee and checked my email. 43 new messages, most from people I hadn't heard from in months. Word travels fast in a town like Millfield, especially when it involves the kind of scandal that makes people feel better about their own boring lives. The first email was from Carmen Reeves, Monroe's best friend and enabler-in-chief. Subject line, "What the hell, Finley?" I can't believe you're doing this to Monroe. She made a mistake, but destroying her life isn't the answer. She's devastated. Call me. I deleted it without responding. Carmen had known about the affair for months. Mason's surveillance had caught her and Monroe discussing it over lunch at their favorite bistro. She'd helped Monroe lie to me, helped her cover her tracks. As far as I was concerned, she was complicit. The second email was more interesting. It was from Leah Hendricks, Monroe's co-worker at the law firm. Finley, I had no idea what Monroe was doing. I'm so sorry. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here. What she did was unforgivable. Leah was jumping ship. Smart woman. She'd probably seen the writing on the wall when Monroe's boss, Richard Crane, got his anonymous package this morning. The package containing not just photos of Monroe's affair, but evidence of her billing irregularities, her unexplained absences, and her use of company resources for personal business. Monroe appeared in the kitchen doorway, still in her pajamas, clutching her phone like a lifeline. Her eyes were red and swollen. Richard fired me, she said. I'm sorry to hear that. I wasn't. No, you're not. This is what you wanted. I poured myself another cup of coffee. What I wanted was a faithful wife. What I got was a cheating liar who stole from me and planned to destroy my life. Getting fired is just a natural consequence of your choices. You sent him those photos. I sent him evidence of your professional misconduct. The affair was just context. She slammed her hand on the counter. You're ruining me. No, Monroe. You ruined yourself. I'm just making sure everyone knows about it. My phone rang. Mason's number. Excuse me, I said to Monroe. I have to take this. I walked into my home office and closed the door. How's the weather? Mason asked. His code for asking how bad the fallout was. Stormy. Very stormy. It's about to get worse. Jory's wife filed for divorce this morning. She's also filing a complaint with the state dental board. Something about him using nitrous oxide for recreational purposes with his girlfriends. I sat down hard. She has evidence of that? Apparently Monroe wasn't his first affair. Erin Trentel has been collecting evidence for months. Your photos just gave her the final push she needed. Jesus. It gets better. She's also suing him for half of his practice, the house, and full custody of the kids. She's claiming emotional distress and asking for punitive damages. I felt a moment of genuine sympathy for Erin Trentell. She was an innocent victim in all this, just like I was. The difference was she was fighting back harder than I'd expected. How's Monroe taking it? Haven't you asked her? She's too busy screaming at her lawyer friends to give me a coherent update. Mason chuckled. Well, she's about to have fewer friends to call. Carmen Reeves got some interesting photos in her email this morning, too. What kind of photos? The kind showing her husband Tom having lunch with his secretary. Very intimate lunch. Lots of hand-holding and kissing. I was quiet for a moment. Mason, tell me you didn't what? I'm a private investigator, Finley. I investigate. Tom Reeves has been cheating on his wife for 2 years. Carmen just never bothered to look. That's not why you sent her the photos. No, it's not. I sent them because she helped your wife lie to you. She enabled Monroe's affair, covered for her, and made you look like a paranoid fool when you started asking questions. She deserves to know what that feels like. I understood the logic, but it felt excessive. Then I remembered Carmen laughing at me at the Christmas party when I'd mentioned Monroe's increased yoga schedule. She'd known exactly what Monroe was really doing, and she'd enjoyed watching me be oblivious. Fair enough. There's more. Tyler Brennan, Jory's buddy from the gym, got a visit from the police this morning. The police? Turns out Tyler's been selling steroids to half the guys at the fitness center. Anonymous tip led to a search warrant. They found enough evidence to charge him with distribution. Mason, I didn't plant anything, Finley. I just made a phone call. Tyler's been bragging about Jory's conquests to anyone who'd listen, including you. He earned this. I was starting to realize that Mason's idea of helping me went far beyond what I'd asked for. But I couldn't say I was sorry to see Monroe's support network crumbling. What about Jory himself? Lying low. His practice is in chaos. Half his patients canceled after the news broke. His wife changed the locks on the house. He's staying at the Riverside Motel. Same room where he used to meet Monroe, actually. The irony was almost poetic. Finley? Monroe's voice came through the door. I need to talk to you. I have to go, I told Mason. Keep me posted. I opened the door. Monroe had changed into jeans and a sweater. She looked smaller somehow, diminished. I'm sorry, she said. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am sorry. For which part? The affair, the lying, the stealing, or the planning to ruin my life? She flinched. All of it. I made terrible choices. Yes, you did. Can we try to work this out? Maybe counseling? No? Finley, please. I love you. I looked at her for a long moment. There might have been a time when those words would have meant something, when I would have been willing to try to rebuild what we'd had. But that time was gone. If you loved me, you wouldn't have slept with another man in a motel room. If you loved me, you wouldn't have stolen our money to buy him presents. If you loved me, you wouldn't have discussed ways to get rid of me so you could be with him. That was just talk. We never would have. I don't believe you, and even if I did, it doesn't matter. You thought about it. You planned it. You wanted me gone. She was crying now, but I felt nothing. No sympathy, no regret, no desire to comfort her. I want you out of the house by tomorrow, I said. Take your clothes, your personal items, and nothing else. Everything else stays here until the divorce is final. Where am I supposed to go? I don't care. Call Carmen. Oh, wait. She's probably busy dealing with her own marriage falling apart. Call Leah. Except she's probably trying to distance herself from you to save her own job. Call Jory. Except his wife cleaned out their bank accounts this morning. Her face went pale. How do you know that? I know everything, Monroe. That's what happens when you declare war on someone who's smarter than you are. She stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. I never declared war on you. Yes, you did. The moment you decided to betray our marriage, you declared war. The moment you decided to steal from me, you declared war. The moment you started planning my destruction, you declared war. I stepped closer to her. The difference is, I'm better at it than you are. She backed away from me, fear flickering in her eyes. You're scaring me. Good. You should be scared, because this is just the beginning. My phone buzzed with a text message. I glanced at it and smiled. What? Monroe asked. Jory's been arrested. What? Why? Tax evasion. Apparently the IRS got an anonymous tip about his unreported income. Amazing what they can find when they really look. Monroe sank into a chair. You're destroying everyone. No, Monroe. I'm just making sure the truth comes out. Everyone destroyed themselves. I'm just turning on the lights so people can see the damage. She looked up at me, and I saw something I'd never seen before in her eyes. Genuine fear. What do you want from me? Nothing. I want nothing from you. I want you gone, and I want you to stay gone. I want you to live with the consequences of what you've done. I want you to remember every day for the rest of your life that you had a good man who loved you, and you threw it away for a middle-aged dentist with a midlife crisis. I walked to the door, then turned back. Pack light, Monroe. You're going to be traveling a lot. Small towns have long memories, and word spreads fast. You might want to think about starting over somewhere far away. I left her sitting there, crying into her hands. Tomorrow would be even better. The Millfield Diner was buzzing with conversation when I walked in Thursday morning. Every head turned toward me, and I could feel the weight of their stares. In a town of 8,000 people, everyone knew everyone else's business, and my business had become the hottest topic since the mayor's son got caught selling weed behind the high school. I took a seat at the counter next to Loretta Michaels, my 70-year-old neighbor who knew more about what happened in this town than the police chief. "Morning, Finley," she said, not looking up from her coffee. "Hell of a week you're having." "Morning, Loretta. Yeah, it's been eventful." "Eventful?" she snorted. "That's one word for it. Half the town's talking about Monroe and that dentist, and the other half's talking about what you're doing about it." Betty, the waitress, poured me coffee without being asked. She'd been working at the diner for 20 years and had perfected the art of serving gossip with breakfast. "The usual?" she asked. "Just coffee today." "Probably for the best. Your stomach's got to be churning with all this drama." She leaned closer. "Is it true Monroe got fired?" "I wouldn't know. We're not really talking much these days." Betty nodded knowingly. "Carmen Reeves was in here yesterday, crying into her pancakes. Seems her Tom's been stepping out on her, too. Funny how these things come in waves." Loretta shot Betty a look that could have cut glass. "Betty, mind your own business." "This is my business. I serve half this town their coffee. When everyone's lives fall apart at once, it affects my tips." I almost smiled at that. Betty had always been practical. The bell above the door chimed, and Carmen Reeves walked in. She spotted me immediately, and her face hardened. She marched over to the counter, her heels clicking on the linoleum like gunshots. "You snake," she said, loud enough for the entire diner to hear. The conversation stopped. Every person in the place turned to watch the show. "Carmen," I said calmly, "how are you holding up?" "Don't you dare act innocent. You destroyed my marriage." "I'm sorry. How did I destroy your marriage?" "You know damn well how. Those photos? The photos of your husband cheating on you? I didn't take those photos, Carmen. I didn't make him cheat on you. I just made sure you knew about it." Her face was red with fury. "You had no right. I had every right. You helped my wife lie to me for months. You covered for her, enabled her, made me look like a fool. You knew what she was doing, and you helped her do it." "That's different." "How is it different?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had no answer because there wasn't one. "You want to know the difference, Carmen? The difference is that you thought it was funny when it was happening to me. You enjoyed watching me be oblivious while my wife screwed another man. You thought I deserved it." "I never said that." "You didn't have to say it. I saw it in your face every time Monroe came home late from one of her girls' nights that you helped arrange. I saw it when you smirked at me at parties while I talked about how much Monroe was enjoying her yoga classes." The diner was silent. Even Betty had stopped pretending to wipe down the counter. "You made your choice, Carmen. You chose to help destroy my marriage. Now you get to live with the consequences?" "You're a vindictive bastard." "No, I'm a man who refuses to be anyone's fool anymore. There's a difference." Carmen looked around the diner, realizing that everyone was staring at her. The weight of public judgment was settling on her shoulders, and she didn't like how it felt. "This isn't over," she said. "Yes, it is. Your marriage is over, your friendship with Monroe is probably over, and your reputation in this town is definitely over, just like mine was supposed to be when Monroe finished with me." She stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. The silence stretched for another moment, then the conversations resumed, quieter but more intense than before. "Jesus, Finley," Loretta said. "You really don't pull punches anymore." "I'm tired of being the nice guy, Loretta. The nice guy finishes last, and everyone walks all over him." "Can't argue with that." She sipped her coffee. "What are you going to do about Monroe?" "Monroe's not my problem anymore. She made her bed with Dr. Feelgood. Now she can lie in it." "Heard he got arrested." "So I'm told." "Tax evasion's serious business. Could be looking at prison time." I didn't respond to that. The less I said about Jory's legal troubles, the better. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason. "Meet me at Murphy's bar at 2 p.m. Bring your sense of humor." I finished my coffee and left money on the counter. As I walked toward the door, I heard Betty telling the customer at table 3, That man's been through hell, but he's handling it better than most would. It was the first positive thing anyone had said about me all week. Murphy's bar was nearly empty at 2 in the afternoon. Just me, Mason, and a couple of day drinkers who looked like they'd been there since breakfast. Mason was sitting in a corner booth, nursing a beer and looking pleased with himself. "You look happy," I said, sliding into the seat across from him. "I am happy. It's been a productive week." "Define productive." "Jory's in county lockup. Can't make bail because his assets are frozen pending the tax investigation. His wife filed a restraining order against him, so even if he gets out, he can't go home. His dental practice is closed indefinitely because half his staff quit and the other half are being investigated for insurance fraud." Insurance fraud? Turns out Jory's been billing for procedures he never performed. Creative accounting. The state's looking into it now. I was quiet for a moment. "Mason, how much of this did you actually uncover, and how much did you help along?" "Does it matter?" "It matters to me." He leaned back in his seat. "Everything I found was real, Finley. The tax evasion, the insurance fraud, the drugs, the affairs, all of it was already happening. I just made sure the right people found out about it." "And Monroe? What about her? What's next for her?" Mason smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. "Well, she's staying at the Sunset Motel on Route 9. Same place she used to meet Jory, actually. Poetic justice." "She's broke?" "Not broke, but close. Her bank accounts are frozen pending the divorce proceedings. Her credit cards are maxed out from all those romantic dinners and hotel stays. And her job prospects aren't looking good." "Why not?" "Word gets around in legal circles, especially when you're fired for cause. Richard Crane made sure everyone knows why Monroe's no longer with the firm." I felt a twinge of something. Not quite guilt, but close to it. "That seems excessive." "Does it? She was stealing from clients, Finley, billing them for work she wasn't doing while she was off screwing her boyfriend. That's not just adultery, that's fraud." He was right, but it still felt like overkill. "There's something else," Mason said. "Monroe came to see me yesterday." "What?" "She wanted to hire me, to investigate you." I stared at him. "She what?" "She thinks you're hiding assets. She wants me to find evidence that you've been planning this for months, that you set her up somehow." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I don't work for people who can't pay my fees." "That's it?" "That's it. But Finley, she's desperate. Desperate people do stupid things. You need to be careful." "Careful how?" "She might try to hurt you. Professionally, personally, maybe even physically. She's got nothing left to lose." The thought hadn't occurred to me. Monroe had always been manipulative, but never violent. Still, Mason was right. People changed when they were cornered. "What do you suggest?" "Watch your back. Don't be alone with her. And maybe consider a security system for the house." "You think she'd actually try to hurt me?" "I think she's facing the complete destruction of her life, and she blames you for it. That makes her dangerous." We sat in silence for a while, drinking our beers and watching the afternoon light filter through the dusty windows. "Mason," I said finally, "do you think I'm going too far?" "Do you?" "I don't know. Sometimes I feel like I'm becoming someone I don't recognize." "You're becoming someone who fights back. There's nothing wrong with that." "Isn't there? Look at the collateral damage. Carmen's marriage, Tyler's arrest, all those people at Jory's practice who lost their jobs." "Stop." Mason's voice was sharp. "Those people destroyed themselves, Finley. Carmen chose to help Monroe lie to you. Tyler chose to sell drugs. Jory chose to commit fraud and cheat on his wife. You didn't make any of those choices for them." "But I exposed them." "Yes, you did. And the world is a better place because of it. How many other wives is Jory not going to cheat on now? How many other clients is Monroe not going to steal from? How many other people is Tyler not going to sell drugs to?" I hadn't thought of it that way. "You're not the villain here, Finley. You're just the guy who turned on the lights. If people don't like what that reveals, maybe they should have made better choices." My phone rang, unknown number. "Hello? Finley, it's Erin Trentell." Jory's wife. I straightened up. "Mrs. Trentell, how are you holding up?" "Better than expected, actually. I wanted to thank you." "Thank me?" "For sending me those photos. I know it probably wasn't easy, but it gave me the push I needed to finally do something about Jory." "I'm sorry you had to go through this." "Don't be. I've known about his affairs for years. I just didn't have the courage to leave. Your photos showed me I wasn't the only one being hurt by his behavior." "What will you do now?" "Start over. I'm a nurse, so I can support myself and the kids. And once the divorce is final, I'll have enough money to make a fresh start somewhere else." "I hope things work out for you." "They will. And Finley, Don't feel guilty about what you did. Jory and Monroe made their choices. You just made sure there were consequences." She hung up, and I realized I felt better than I had in days. "Good news?" Mason asked. "Yeah, I think it was." "Ready for the next phase?" "There's a next phase?" Mason grinned. "There's always a next phase." Friday night, I was sitting in my home office reviewing divorce papers when I heard the front door slam. Monroe was supposed to be gone by now, but apparently she'd decided to make one last stand. "Finley!" Her voice echoed through the house, shrill and desperate. "Get down here. We need to talk." I saved my work and walked downstairs. Monroe was standing in the living room, and she looked terrible. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and she had dark circles under her eyes that makeup couldn't hide. "You look like hell," I said. "Thanks to you." She was holding a manila envelope, similar to the one Mason had given me a week ago. "I know what you've been doing. Enlighten me." "You've been planning this for months, maybe years. You set me up, manipulated me into the affair, then used it to destroy my life." I stared at her. "Are you insane?" "I have proof." She waved the envelope. "Financial records showing you've been moving money around, hiding assets, preparing for a divorce long before you caught me with Jory." "Let me see that." She handed me the envelope triumphantly. I opened it and looked through the papers inside. Bank statements, investment records, property transfers, all perfectly legitimate financial planning I'd done over the past 2 years. "Monroe, this is my retirement planning. I've been moving money into tax-advantaged accounts and diversifying our investments. It's called being financially responsible." "That's not what my investigator says." "Your investigator is an idiot, or he's lying to you because you can't pay him." Her face flushed red. "You think you're so smart. You think you've won." "I don't think I've won, Monroe. I think you've lost. There's a difference. I'm not done fighting." "Yes, you are. You're broke, unemployed, and homeless. Your boyfriend is in jail, your friends have abandoned you, and your reputation is destroyed. What exactly are you going to fight me with?" She reached into her purse and pulled out her phone. "With this." "Your phone?" "I've been recording our conversations. All of them. Including the ones where you threatened me, where you admitted to having me followed, where you confessed to destroying other people's lives for revenge." I felt a chill run down my spine. If she had recordings of me admitting to some of the things Mason had done... "Let me hear one." "What?" "Play me one of these recordings. Let me hear myself threatening you." She fumbled with the phone, scrolling through what looked like dozens of audio files. She selected one and hit play. My voice came through the speaker. "What I wanted was a faithful wife. What I got was a cheating liar who stole from me and planned to destroy my life." She stopped the recording and looked at me expectantly. "That's your evidence? Me calling you a cheating liar?" "Keep listening." She hit play again. "You destroyed us, Monroe, but I'm going to make sure you don't destroy anyone else." She stopped it again. "That's a threat. That's a statement of fact. Monroe, nothing in that recording is threatening or illegal. I caught my wife cheating and told her I was going to expose her. That's not a crime." "What about this one?" She played another file. "I know everything, Monroe. That's what happens when you declare war on someone who's smarter than you are." Still not a threat. Still not illegal. Her confidence was starting to crack. "I have more." "I'm sure you do, but Monroe, you're missing the point. Even if you had recordings of me actually threatening you, which you don't, what would you do with them? Call the police? Take them to a lawyer? You can't afford a lawyer. And the police aren't going to arrest me for telling my cheating wife that I'm going to divorce her." She stared at the phone like it had betrayed her. "This was your big plan? This was going to save you?" I thought if I could prove you set me up." "I didn't set you up. You chose to have an affair. You chose to steal our money. You chose to plan my destruction. I just chose not to be a victim." She sank onto the couch, all the fight going out of her. "I loved him," she said quietly. "No, you didn't. You loved the excitement. You loved the attention. You loved feeling like you were getting away with something, but you didn't love Jory any more than you loved me. That's not true, isn't it? If you loved him, you would have asked for a divorce before starting the affair. If you loved him, you wouldn't have been planning to take my money and run. If you loved him, you'd be trying to help him now instead of trying to save yourself." She was crying again, but this time it felt different. Not manipulative or calculated, just defeated. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you leave. You start over somewhere else. You learn to live with the consequences of your choices. I don't have anywhere to go. That's not my problem. Finley, please. I know I hurt you, but we were married for 15 years. That has to count for something." I looked at her, really looked at her, and tried to find some remnant of the woman I'd fallen in love with all those years ago. She was still beautiful, even now. Still had that way of looking vulnerable that had always made me want to protect her, but it was gone. Whatever I'd felt for her was gone, destroyed by months of lies, betrayal, and casual cruelty. It counted for something, I said. It counted for me giving you chance after chance to tell me the truth. It counted for me trying to save our marriage even when I suspected what you were doing. It counted for me loving you long after you stopped deserving it. I did love you. Maybe you did once, but love isn't just a feeling, Monroe. It's a choice. Every day, you choose to be faithful or unfaithful. You choose to be honest or dishonest. You choose to protect your partner or hurt them. And every day for months, you chose to hurt me. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. So that's it? 15 years, and it just ends? It ended the moment you decided Jory was more important than our marriage. I'm just making it official. She stood up slowly, like an old woman. I hope you're happy. I'm not happy, Monroe. I'm free. There's a difference. She walked toward the door, then turned back one last time. You'll regret this someday. When you're alone in this big house with no one to love you, you'll regret destroying us. Maybe, but I'll never regret refusing to be your fool. She left then, and I heard her car start in the driveway. I watched from the window as she drove away, probably forever. My phone buzzed with a text from Mason. Saw Monroe leave. Everything okay? I typed back, Everything's fine. It's over. Good. Drink? Rain check. I think I want to be alone tonight. Understood. Call if you need anything. I poured myself a bourbon and sat in my chair, the one Monroe had always hated. The house felt different now, not empty like it had been for months, but peaceful, quiet in a good way. I thought about what Monroe had said about being alone. Maybe she was right. Maybe I would regret this someday. But I didn't think so. I'd rather be alone than be with someone who saw me as a fool to be manipulated and used. My phone rang. Unknown number again. Hello? Mr. Varlin, this is Detective Sarah Chen with the Millfield Police Department. I need to ask you some questions about Dr. Jory Trentel. My blood went cold. What kind of questions? He's claiming you framed him for tax evasion. Says you planted evidence, bribed witnesses, that kind of thing. I need you to come down to the station tomorrow morning so we can clear this up. Detective, Mr. Varlin, I'm not accusing you of anything, but these are serious allegations and I need to investigate them properly. Can you be here at 9 a.m.? Yes, of course. Good. And Mr. Varlin, you might want to bring a lawyer. She hung up, and I sat staring at the phone. It seemed Monroe and Jory had one last card to play. Saturday morning, I sat in the Millfield police station across from Detective Sarah Chen, a sharp-eyed woman in her 40s who looked like she'd heard every lie ever told. My lawyer, David Park, sat beside me looking calm and professional. Dr. Trentel claims you orchestrated an elaborate frame-up, Detective Chen said, consulting her notes. Says you planted evidence of tax evasion, bribed witnesses, and manipulated financial records to make him look guilty. That's ridiculous, I said. Is it? You certainly had motive. He was sleeping with your wife. Detective, David interjected, my client discovered his wife's affair and filed for divorce. That's not a crime. No, but conspiracy and evidence tampering are. She leaned forward. Mr. Varlin, I've looked into Dr. Trentel's claims. The timing is suspicious. All of his legal troubles started right after you discovered the affair. Correlation isn't causation, I said. Maybe his troubles started because he got careless. Maybe having an affair made him sloppy in other areas of his life. Maybe. Or maybe you decided to destroy him? David put a hand on my arm, but I ignored the warning. Detective, let me ask you something. Have you actually looked at the evidence against Jory Trentel? Of course. And? She was quiet for a moment. It's solid. Very solid. How solid? Tax records going back 5 years. Unreported income, hidden accounts, fraudulent deductions. The IRS has enough to put him away for a decade. And the insurance fraud? Billing records, patient files, testimony from his staff. It's airtight. So the evidence is real? Yes. Then how exactly did I frame him? Did I travel back in time and make him commit crimes for the past 5 years? Did I hypnotize him into not reporting his income? Did I force him to bill for procedures he never performed? Detective Chen looked uncomfortable. The evidence is real because the crimes are real, I continued. Jory Trentel is a criminal who got caught. The fact that he got caught right after I discovered his affair with my wife is just bad timing on his part. But you hired a private investigator. Yes, I did. to investigate my wife's affair, not to frame anyone for tax evasion. Mason Brady has quite a reputation for being thorough and professional, for being willing to bend the rules. David leaned forward. Detective, do you have any evidence? Any evidence at all that my client or Mr. Brady planted evidence, bribed witnesses, or committed any crime? She shuffled through her papers. No direct evidence, no. Then what exactly are we doing here? Following up on allegations. Allegations made by a man facing serious federal charges who's looking for someone else to blame, David said. Detective, this is harassment. Detective Chen closed her file. Mr. Varlin, I'm going to be honest with you. Dr. Trentell's story doesn't add up. The evidence against him is too extensive, too detailed, and goes back too far for it to be fabricated. But I had to investigate his claims. And now you have? Yes. You're free to go? Outside the police station, David shook my hand. That went better than I expected, he said. You expected worse? I expected them to dig deeper. The fact that they didn't suggest the evidence against Trentell really is overwhelming. It is. Mason's thorough, but he's not a magician. Everything he found was real. David nodded. What's next? Next, I go home and get on with my life. What about Monroe? What about her? She could still cause problems, make accusations, spread rumors. Let her. The truth is on my side now. I drove home through downtown Millfield, past the diner where Carmen had confronted me, past Murphy's bar where Mason and I had planned our strategy, past the motel where Monroe was probably still staying. The town looked different somehow, smaller, less significant. My phone rang as I pulled into my driveway, Mason's number. How did it go? They cleared me. Jory's claims were too ridiculous to take seriously. Good. I was worried they might dig into some of our methods. Our methods were fine, Mason. We investigated, we uncovered the truth, and we made sure the right people knew about it. There's nothing illegal about that. No, but there's a fine line between investigation and manipulation. Did we cross that line? Does it matter? The bad guys got what they deserved. I thought about that as I walked into my house. Did it matter? Jory was a criminal who'd been stealing from the government and his patients for years. Monroe was an adulterer who'd stolen from me and planned to destroy my life. Carmen had enabled and encouraged Monroe's affair. Tyler had been dealing drugs. All we'd done was make sure they faced consequences for their actions. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. This isn't over. You destroyed my life, and I'll destroy yours. M. Monroe, making threats from her motel room. I showed the text to Mason when he arrived an hour later. She's desperate, he said. Desperate and stupid. Should I be worried? Not really. What's she going to do? She has no money, no job, no friends, and no credibility. Even if she tries to cause trouble, who's going to believe her? He was right. Monroe had burned every bridge, alienated every ally. She was alone and powerless. There is one more thing, Mason said. Jory made bail this morning. How? I thought his assets were frozen. His mother put up her house. He's out, but he has to wear an ankle monitor and can't leave the county. What's he going to do? Probably try to rebuild his life. His practice is finished, his marriage is over, and he's facing serious prison time. But people like Jory don't give up easily. You think he'll try something? I think he'll try to blame everyone but himself. But that's not our problem anymore. Mason left around dinner time, and I spent the evening alone in my house, reading and enjoying the silence. For the first time in months, I felt truly relaxed. Around 10 p.m., I heard a car in my driveway. I looked out the window and saw Jory Trentell getting out of his BMW. He looked terrible, unshaven, disheveled, desperate. I opened the door before he could knock. Jory, what brings you by? You know damn well what brings me by. His voice was slurred. He'd been drinking. Actually, I don't. But you're trespassing, so you'd better make it quick. You destroyed my life. No, I didn't. You destroyed your own life. I just made sure people found out about it. He stepped closer, and I could smell the alcohol on his breath. I lost everything because of you? You lost everything because you're a criminal and a cheater. That's not my fault. I never hurt you. I never even knew you existed until Monroe told me about you. You were sleeping with my wife. That hurt me plenty. She said you didn't care about her anymore. She said you ignored her, took her for granted. She lied. But then, you probably know that by now. His face crumpled. She won't even talk to me. I'm facing prison because of her, and she won't even take my calls. Welcome to my world. The difference is, I didn't deserve it. Neither did I. I almost laughed. Jory, you committed tax evasion, insurance fraud, and adultery. You got exactly what you deserved. I loved her. No, you didn't. You used her just like she used me. The only difference is she was better at it than you were. He stared at me for a long moment, swaying slightly. I could eliminate you, he said. You could try, but you won't. You know why? Because you're a coward. You're the kind of man who cheats on his wife and steals from his patients and blames everyone else when he gets caught. You don't have the courage to face the consequences of your actions, let alone commit murder. You don't know me. I know you better than you think. You're weak, Jory. You always have been. That's why you needed to feel powerful by sleeping with married women. That's why you needed to steal money to feel successful. That's why you're here now, drunk and desperate, trying to blame me for your failures. He took another step closer, his hands clenched into fists. Go ahead, I said, and take a swing. Give me a reason to call the police. You're already facing federal charges. What's assault on top of that? He raised his hand, then let it fall to his side. That's what I thought, I said. Now get off my property before I call your probation officer. He stood there for another moment, then turned and walked back to his car. I watched him drive away, probably back to whatever dive bar he'd been drinking at. I went inside and poured myself a bourbon. My phone rang almost immediately. Finley, it's Aaron Trentel. I'm sorry to bother you so late, but Jory's missing. He was supposed to check in with his probation officer, but he never showed up. His ankle monitor stopped working about an hour ago. He was just here, Aaron, drunk and making threats. Oh, God. I was afraid of this. He's been drinking heavily since he got out, talking about how everyone betrayed him. Did you call the police? They're looking for him now. I just wanted to warn you. I think he blames you for everything that's happened. Thanks for the heads up. Finley, be careful. He's not the man I married anymore. Desperation has made him dangerous. I hung up and checked the locks on my doors. Then I called Mason. Jory's gone off the grid, I told him. Violated his probation, disabled his ankle monitor. He came by here drunk and making threats. I'll be right over. You don't need to? Yes, I do. Cornered animals are unpredictable. Mason arrived 20 minutes later, armed and alert. We sat in my living room waiting. You think he'll come back? I asked. Maybe. Or maybe he'll run. Either way, we'll be ready. We didn't have to wait long. Around midnight, I heard the sound of breaking glass from the back of the house. Mason and I moved toward the kitchen, where we found Jory climbing through the window he'd just smashed. Hello, Jory, I said. Breaking and entering is a felony. He spun around, wild-eyed and desperate. You ruined me. You ruined yourself. I had everything. A successful practice, a beautiful wife, respect in the community. Now I have nothing. You had those things built on lies and crimes. They were never really yours. Because of you. Because of you. You made the choices, Jory. You committed the crimes. You had the affair. You destroyed your own life. He pulled a gun from his jacket, a small pistol, probably his wife's. Mason tensed beside me, but I held up a hand. Put the gun down, Jory. This isn't going to solve anything. It'll solve everything. You'll be gone, and everyone will know what you did to me. What I did to you? Jory, I caught you sleeping with my wife. That's all I did. Everything else. The tax evasion, the fraud, the crimes. That was all you. You set me up. How? How did I set you up for crimes you committed years before I knew you existed? He waved the gun wildly. You must have... somehow... There is no somehow, Jory. You're a criminal who got caught. That's all this is. No! He was crying now, tears streaming down his face. I'm a good man. I help people. I save teeth. You're a fraud and a thief and an adulterer. You're not a good man, Jory. You probably never were. Shut up. Just shut up. The truth hurts, doesn't it? But it's still the truth. He pointed the gun at me, his hand shaking. I should eliminate you. Yes, you should. If you're going to do it, But stop whining about it. Mason looked at me like I was insane, but I knew what I was doing. Men like Jory were all bluster and no substance. They made threats they couldn't follow through on. I will. I'll eliminate you. Then do it. Pull the trigger. But understand something. Eliminating me won't change anything. You'll still be a criminal. You'll still be facing prison. You'll still have lost everything. The only difference is, you'll be a murderer too. He sobbed, the gun wavering in his grip. You destroyed my life. No, Jory. You destroyed your own life. I just refuse to let you destroy mine. The gun slipped from his fingers and clattered to the floor. He collapsed onto my kitchen chair, broken and defeated. Mason moved quickly, securing the weapon and calling the police. "It's over, Jory," I said. "Finally, it's over." The police arrived 10 minutes later and arrested Jory for breaking and entering, violating probation, and assault with a weapon. As they led him away in handcuffs, he looked back at me one last time. "This isn't over," he said. "Yes, it is," I replied. "This is exactly what over looks like." After the police left and Mason went home, I sat in my living room and finished my bourbon. My phone had dozens of missed calls and text messages. Word of Jory's arrest had already spread through town. One message stood out. It was from Monroe. "I heard what happened. Are you okay?" I stared at the message for a long time, then deleted it without responding. Outside, dawn was breaking over Millfield. A new day, a new beginning. I had won. Not just the battle, but the war. Monroe was gone, Jory was in jail, and everyone who had betrayed me had faced consequences. I was free. For the first time in months, I smiled.